Hello and welcome to this week's video. My name is Anuska Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, today's topic is really important if you are trying to create change with your voice and you're doing vocal exercises. You've got some exercises, maybe you've got them from a YouTube video or a book, or a vocal coach you're working with has given you things to do. This is essential. And this is the difference between actually creating results and not creating results. However, the caveat to this is, as any of you will know that watch my videos, it's always driven by the mind. The unconscious mind is driving your voice. So we always have to look at that aspect, which I will address as we go through this video. But what I want to share with you today is something that I literally share with almost every private client. Anytime I do a workshop or I work with a group of people, I say this almost to every single person who will listen to me. And I have said this on videos before, but I want to go into more depth about it because it's really important that you get this, because you're not going to create change otherwise. What is this? This is about going to an extreme in everything that you do. If you're trying to create change, you must go to an extreme. Now, I want to explain more about this, give you a bit more clarification about what this means, because I realize that you could completely misconstrue that. So I want to make sure it's very clear what this is and what this isn't. So before I get going, if you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I release weekly videos on all things voice related, specifically aimed at professionals, people that really rely on their voice for a living, who are really wanting to make a greater impact when they speak. Doesn't necessarily have to be on a big stage. It could be in meetings and presentations, in pictures and interviews, in podcasts, but you really want to bring the greatest version of your voice to the table. And my firm belief is pretty much everyone has access to that. There's a very small percentage of people that really have serious voice issues where they can't really create something new, but they're not generally the people I work with anyway. So just know, if you really want to create change, you can, but you do have to really want to do it. So let's get going then. So this idea of going to an extreme and why it's so important. And also, as I say, I also want to say what it isn't too. So often when I'm working with new clients, whether they're singers or speakers, because I do work with both, and I give them an exercise to do, they tend to be fairly hesitant with it. So they tend to almost have one foot in and one foot out. So there's a hesitation. And I sometimes use the analogy of a horse going over a jump. And not that I'm big into horses or anything, but it's quite a good analogy. And sometimes, you might be watching show jumping and the horse will kind of bolt at the last minute. And then, of course, it can't get over the jump. A horse can't half go over the jump. It either fully has to go over the jump or it just bolts and goes around it. Now, to some extent, that's what I see with many people with their voice. So they have this exercise and they sort of half do it. So they end up sort of almost proverbially walking around the jump, not fully embracing it, not just going for it, and really owning it. And honestly, you have to go to an extreme. You have to really fully show up. But what this isn't is straining, is yelling, is pushing your voice, is putting in so much physical effort that, the veins are popping out of your neck. That is not what I'm talking about. This is both a sort of mental effort, very intentional with what you're doing, but it is also a physical effort. So for any of you that go to the gym, there is a difference between physically feeling a little bit fatigued. You've done some weights maybe, and you haven't lifted that heavy weight before. There's a difference between your muscles feeling a little bit tired and you've worked them versus you strain them, you've gone too far, you've pushed everything too much. And that's what we're talking about here. So we've got to find our edge. So we're not pushing the voice, we're not straining the voice, we're not yelling, we're not through the voice, but we're also not going the other extreme where we're not really putting that much effort in, either physical effort or mental effort. So we've got to sort of find that middle ground. We've got to find our edge, and that's going to vary from person to person. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples of how this might show up. Because I think when I say this to people, they're like, yeah, whatever. And then they keep doing the same thing. And I'm like, you're not really going to an extreme. You've just slightly, maybe 2% shifted. This is also why I say to people all the time, you have to record yourself. Ideally, video yourself like I am now on Zoom. Like, just open Zoom up and just watch yourself speak. That will tell you everything you need to know, because sometimes we don't know what we're doing. Well, often, as is part of my work, most of what we're doing is so unconscious. We're just, sleepwalking through life. We're just doing the same thing that we did yesterday. So we don't even know what we're doing. We don't even know that we're gripping our jaw, or our neck is strained when we're singing or speaking. We just don't know, because we're so disconnected to our voice often. So let me give you an example for mumbling. This is a big one. A lot of the clients that I work with would often say that they would like to find more clarity in their voice. And certainly in terms of my YouTube videos, that is definitely a topic I think many of you resonate with. So if you've spent your whole life mumbling, so you talk like this and you don't really move your jaw and you don't really move your tongue and you don't really move your lips, you're not going to create change if you just slightly start to move your lips a little bit more. It's not really going to change anything, because we're dealing with a series of muscles when we speak, much like the gym analogy, which is why I use the gym analogy. So we've got to like wake up the muscles that are not used to being used, namely the lips, the tongue. Normally the jaw is overused. So normally it's more about getting the jaw sort of out of the way for most people. So they clench their jaw because it's so tight. So it's more about releasing the jaw and building strength in some of the lip muscles that are fairly weak and underutilized, and tongue muscles that are fairly weak and underutilized. So that's more what I see with most people. So we have to really get everything moving. And it's going to maybe feel a little bit tiring to start with. And your ego is going to say, no, I don't need to do this. I'm just going to go back to speaking like this. And thinking that you're speaking slightly clearer, but actually nothing's really changed. You've got to get everything moving. And as I say, it's not about straining. It's not about forcing. It's not about yelling at all. This is just about engaging these muscles that have probably spent most of their life not really doing a whole lot. So when you start to use them, then they're probably going to complain. They're being like, I'm getting a bit tired. So if that is you, just do it in small bursts. Do it for a minute at a time, but really intentionally show up in that minute, and then give yourself a break and maybe do a minute 4 times a day if you're not used to using these muscles. So let me give you an example. So one of the exercises that I give to many clients, and I have shared on my channel before, is using either a pen or a metal straw or something kind of long and hard that you can put between your back teeth. Now, what this does is, first of all, it gets the jaw out of the way. So the jaw is then softly dropped. So you're not gripping the straw, you're not going. So that would be an example of how not to do this. So the jaw is just very gently held in place by your back teeth. The goal with that is really just to get the jaw out of the way. And then your focus is really on moving the lips and the tongue in a way that they've never been used before. So this isn't about slightly increasing your clarity. This is about really going over the top, over articulate. Imagine you're speaking to someone that barely speaks any English, or whatever your native language is. Just go to an extreme. The reason we have to do the psychology behind this is there is a reason why you're mumbling in the first place. And so this is probably emotionally going to feel very uncomfortable, which is why people don't do it, which is why people tend to just slightly speak a bit clearer. But then they wonder why they just end up going back. So if you're here and your voice is very mumbly and you want to find more clarity and ease, let's say in the middle, you go to the extreme in your practice to find the middle ground in your day-to-day speaking. So if I was to say, my name is Anuska, keep it really simple. First of all, I'm going to do it without really moving much. My name is Anuska. So yeah, you can hear me. Is it really doing anything? No, not really. Nothing's really engaging particularly. But if I was to get everything more engaged, My name is Anushka. So really move those lips forward. Really move those lips forward. And get that tongue moving as well. So that's the first one. You're probably going to feel stupid. You're probably going to think you look stupid. You're probably going to think it sounds over the top. And if that is the case, you're probably doing it right. So get used to being okay with sounding stupid in your practice. I'm not saying this is how you go into a meeting, but we have to go there to create the strength and the agility in these articulators that have probably spent most of their life asleep. So the other one I see as well, and I did this in a workshop a couple of months ago with a group of managers, and I'll often give tongue twisters to people because, again, for a lot of us, our tongue is very lazy. It wants to retract. So the back of the tongue is often very strong, but the front of that tip of the tongue doesn't really come forward in most people anywhere near enough. And it's absolutely essential for clarity in the voice, but also for power in the voice as well. Your tongue is indirectly connected to your larynx. So whatever your tongue's doing, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to have a knock-on effect to what's going on in your voice. So if it's always sort of tight and pulled back, there's not going to be the same freedom in your voice. So let me share a tongue twister. And first of all, this is not my exercise. I just want to say I didn't come up with this. This is Kim Chandler's exercise. She's one of my voice coaches. And I just think it's brilliant. And it really gets everything working. So I want to show you how you could do this without really getting the benefit and how you could do it really getting the benefit. So it's the tick-tock exercise. And you basically say tick-tock, tickety-tock, tick-tock, tickety-tock, 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 tickety-tickety, tickety-tock. Now I've slowed it right down. Obviously, the goal with this is to do it as fast as possible, but as clear as possible. So when I had this group of clients that I was doing a voice session with, I gave them this exercise because I do really love it. And some of them were just going like this, tick tock, tickety tock, tick tock, tickety tock. Now, yeah, it's doing something, but you're not going to get the result with that. So what I want you to do, again, is kind of look and sound a bit stupid. Tick tock, tickety tock, tick tock, tickety tock, tickety tock, tickety tock, tickety 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 tock. So really get everything moving, almost to the point, like you can see my cheeks are getting red, like you're getting blood flow to the face, but you're getting the lips moving. The tongue has to move in this exercise if you're doing it properly. Tick tock, tickety tock, tick tock, tickety tock, tickety tock, tickety tock, tickety 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 tock. So it's a real tongue exercise, but it's also a lip exercise. So again, you can do it without really engaging much, but it's pointless. So what I think is the best gauge is you probably are going to, in your mind, sound ridiculous. You're probably going to look a bit silly because now your lips are moving. Now you can feel your tongue moving in ways that it's not used to moving. So have a go the next time you are doing any kind of vocal practice. I challenge you to stand in front of a mirror or video yourself and just watch what you're doing. Are you fully showing up? Are you fully embracing the exercise, bringing all of your energy into it? Are you committing to the exercise? Are you that horse going over that jump? Are you committing to the jump and going straight over it? Or are you hesitating and then walking around it? So it's really, really important. Honestly, and I say this to people all the time, if you practice like this, you're not going to end up sounding like this. Because what happens is we just start to build the strength in these muscles, we start to release other muscles, and what will happen is you will find a middle ground. And I think that's often the reason that people don't want to go to an extreme, because they don't want to sound like this when they speak, but you're not going to sound like that. But in order to create strength, agility, flexibility in these muscles, you have to work them, much like going to the gym. So just remember, it's finding your edge with these exercises, going to an extreme, but without straining, forcing, yelling, tensing, overly like constricting. And you'll feel it, you know, you will feel it. You might see muscles and veins like bulging in your neck. So just make sure that there is a sort of freedom in your neck, in your jaw, and get the lips and the tongue working. And I promise you, and also if you combine this with the deeper unconscious work, the shadow work, which is what I do, then there's really nothing to stop your voice from becoming powerful, clear, effortless, and expressive. But you can't get there by having one foot in and one foot out. So I hope that's helped. So have a go. Whatever exercises you're doing, play around with this. Give it a couple of weeks. Just go for it and see what happens. As long as you're not straining, go to an extreme. So thank you so much. I hope that's been helpful. If I can support you in any way, there are many ways to work with me below. I would love to speak to you if you would like to really find your voice, reclaim your voice, and step into your power as a speaker. That's what I'm all about. It's really about helping you to get out of your own way and express yourself fully and unapologetically. So until next time, I'll see you then. Thank you so much.